Good morning. It's a pleasure to be here. Good afternoon. I think, without much ado, it's exciting to note that all the investments and the vision that His Excellency Mr. Godwin Obaseki has had and acted upon for Edo State, using technology as a driver for development in Edo State. They are, not only are they working, but now they are successfully attracting partners and investments to Edo State that will create jobs and provide global opportunities for the people of Edo. So I'd like to say a big welcome to the launch of Edo Tech Park, and without much ado, invite His Excellency Mr. Godwin Obaseki for his opening.
Let me start by welcoming our partners, the Managing Director of Decagon Nigeria Limited. I want to acknowledge the presence of permanent secretaries who are here and members of the tech community. This afternoon, we're making history. In line with my inaugural speech on November 12th this year, I did say that in the next 4 years, Edo will key in to the future, and the future is technology. And that our vision as a state is to develop and grow a globally competitive digital economy, which will be enabled by technology for the benefit of our citizens. To realize this bold vision, we have already started doing several things. And our vision is going to be based and layered on 4 key strategic areas. First, the first pillar is for us to build the foundation, because everything has to rest on something. And the foundation, as far as we're concerned, is the people. I mean, technology is amazing because it's about people. It's people that drive it. It's not. So the main resource is people. And that's one of the things we're doing today to accelerate the process of building and growing a very, very formidable workforce, a tech workforce. We also have started investing in the tech infrastructure with partners. We've already signed up with one partner, and we have quite an extensive connection, a digital connection, fiber connection within the state. And I just spoke with another one today, and we're pushing very hard to see how we can bring competition even in the infrastructure space. And then the last thing is to build what we call digital suaveness and trust. We are lucky that we have a very young population. We have a digital population. The mean age in this state is about 33, and that's the age that has embraced and is very locked into technology. So what we need to do with that generation or with those people is to just make tech hip with them. They already know it, they're already using it. It's to build that sophistication within them. The other pillar, which is key, is using government as an enabler to drive technology. Because government is the largest player in any system, in any economy. And so once the master, the big elephant in the room has adopted something, it's only natural that it will flow with everybody. So for us in government, we've started the process of what you know as digital disruption in the public service. Over the last 8 weeks or so, we've been working very hard with all our permanent secretaries and our public servants to try and transform the way government thinks and the way government engages. We realize that technology, more than anything else, will introduce a certain element of transparency and openness. And we're working very hard with our public servants to make sure that they understand and adapt and adopt technology as a way of running government. The role of government, like I said, is an enabler. So, we're not going to rely on government solely to drive this whole technological innovation. In any case, government cannot. It's beyond government. So what government can do and what government will do in Edo State is understanding the power and role of technology. It will act as a traffic controller, as a moderator within that ecosystem, making sure that the legal environment for us to engage and sustain technology is in place, to ensure that the social environment is in place, and those softer issues beyond just the infrastructure are understood and not necessarily controlled. I'm not one of those who say we should control social media. You can't anyway. But it's to make sure that you relate the experience, your technological experience, to real life experience so that it can add a lot more value to our lives. Technology should not diminish us. The other pillar is a mindset change. So you see, the first three things are about people and government. To ensure, to make people are already doing so anyway. You find a lot of young people, a lot of people are already working with technology. I mean, from the news crew here, they, when they finish now, they go back to their back rooms, they use technology to mix, to, file their reports and do the things they need to do because it just helps them be efficient. I was in Lagos over the weekend, try and, commission a building for a group of young people who are in their Greek space, who are intervening between farmers and the markets, and they're using technology. So that whole entrepreneurial spirit, whether it's in driving the economy or driving social service, we want to continue to push in that direction to just change the mindset, to get people to think about how to use technology differently. Because in a post-COVID world, it's like you don't have a choice, with the restriction in human interface and in human interaction. We must continue to interact. Then technology just offers us the alternative platform to do so. The other thing about mindset is the way we do business, to see that we can use technology to enhance the way we produce and the way we sell goods and services. Quite a bit of that is going on, but that space is large, it's huge, and we feel that government has a role to play in pushing people in that direction. And we need to improve capacity for change. Change is one thing that's constant, and if government is afraid to change, then you can imagine the impediments to the ordinary citizens. But can you imagine how exciting it will be if government just supports that whole process of change? The good thing is that a lot of people are already using technology. Already since March this year, we've been forced to do a lot of things differently. We're forced to now sit in meetings, via Zoom. We're forced to keep social distancing and therefore work, try and look for separate workspaces. And then because you just can't move, you're encouraged to stay at home, you now want to, use technology to access the good services or the things you used to do, even having your social gatherings via your connectivity. And then the last pillar is economic. There has to be activities around technology. We've got to be able to create and produce more and distribute more goods and services. We have to improve the environment, both the legal environment and the economic environment. We have to build infrastructure, particularly digital infrastructure, to carry on our technology enterprises. We've talked about employment and entrepreneurship. We've already started doing that in Edo State with Edo Jobs, the work Edo Jobs has done, and Innovation Hub, and a series of interventions. But those are just baby steps. What we want to do over the next 4 years is to make what we call quantum leaps in that direction. And one key pillar, one key element in our technology pillar is partnerships. We have come to realize that we cannot do it ourselves. Or if we try to, it will be too slow a process. So we believe in the power of partnerships. We believe that partnerships will get us faster to where we're going. And from our experience to date, we found that the reason why we've accomplished what we've accomplished in the last 4 years is because of the power of partnerships. And that explains where we are today. It's because we're able to partner with a technology partner with a technology firm that we could launch and drive EdoBest, our educational, transformation and basic system, the way we did. If we had relied on the talents and the knowledge pool within government itself, we would not have moved as fast as we did. And we're very proud and happy with what has been accomplished. EdoBest is an example of what technology can do, of how transformative technology can be and has been. Imagine taking out 12,000 teachers who never had any interaction with any, or very little interaction with any piece of technology. And within a 2-year time frame, these teachers, no matter how remote they are in Edo State, are on the same platform, using the same technological tools to teach children. And the net effect is that learning is occurring. So we've just cut through the big class, and moved on from just the main route of going to school to ensuring that children go to school and they now learn. And you have the means to measure. So it's not like saying the children are learning, but the data is there to show that these children are truly learning. If we thought we were just exciting ourselves by introducing technology into education, the advent of COVID-19, that pandemic, justified for us that we had done the right thing. Because nobody knew we would have a pandemic. We were struck by a pandemic. We couldn't move. Children couldn't go to school for extended periods. And because we had transformed, we had moved onto a technology platform, we could take learning to the children while they were on lockdown at home. These teachers were able to create over 9,000 digital classrooms for these children to learn. If we hadn't partnered, if we hadn't created that base, how could we have sustained learning for these children when we had to shut down the whole space? And what is even more important is our ability to manage quality. Today, sitting in my office, just looking and interacting with that portal, the EdoBest portal, I can tell when a teacher got to school in the morning. I can tell if a teacher completed his or her lesson notes for that day. I can see the performance and track the performance of almost 300,000 children in our public school system. That's the power of technology, and that's the power of partnering. And for some of you in the room here, I can witness, you've also participated in partnerships for economic development and job creation. Edo Jobs is a living example of what we've done, how much we've used the various platforms to engage and interact with hundreds and thousands of young men and women, and people across the state who've gotten opportunities to find new vocations in life, new endeavors. And we're very proud that these partnerships are not only local, but we've also been able to partner with international firms. We have, logistics companies like Uber, Facebook, Amazon, Google. They're there represented in one form or the other in the hub. But like I said, we want to take it to another level. Uki will talk about, what she's done with entrepreneurial developments. I know quite a few people are now, today are paid to do code, to do some work, to development work at home, and they're earning much more than they ever thought they will earn before. We've also used technology to drive other areas, other development areas, particularly our physical space. One of the things we did very early on when we, during the life of our administration, the first term, was we engaged a partner and flew over the state. The southern part of the state. We're going to complete that flyover. So today we have a digital image and imagery of at least most parts of Edo South. And we are scaling that this dry season, and we're going to fly through the entire state. What that means is that we now have spatial and aerial data, a lot more defined than we will get from Google Maps or, one of the generally available satellite images that we have, and this is resident with us. And with that, we've been able to develop several other uses, like being able to issue digital certificates of occupancies. We can do digital surveys of properties. And that's made it faster for us to title people's lands and people's properties. And we're going to the next stage of, ensuring that we're able to collect our land use, taxes, and tenement rates, and what we need to for state. So today, in Edo State, for 50,000 naira, in 60 days, you get your certificate of O. Just imagine, for the better part of more than 30 years, I will even say much more, 50 years, we were only able to issue about 2,000 C of O's and arrow of O's in Edo State. Since Edo was created, the total number of C of O's that were created was less than 2,000. Today, last week alone, I signed 1,000 C of O's. In 1 week. So we're signing more C of O's in a week than we signed for 40 years. That's the kind of transformation that we've had, and that's the power of partnerships. So what's the next step? Why are we doing this? Why are we here today? If you go back to my inaugural speech, I made it clear. I said, look, the things that are key. First, to make sure that government works. So make sure that government works for our people. If anyone was in doubt, my elections on September 19th proved it clearly that in spite of all the opposition, Edo people spoke with one voice. Edo people said, we're happy with what we've seen this last 4 years, and we want this government to continue. So we won our election based on the perception of performance by our government. And therefore, it was clear to us that as long as we could deliver services to our people, we can continue to retain political power. And that is not negotiable. And for us to be able to retain and to provide services, government must work. Government must work for the people. And for government to work, government's processes and procedures need to be improved. And the only way to do it in the time we have is using technology. It's very logical, it's very straightforward, it's very simple. So we've said the next 90 days of our administration is to sit back, to reflect, to understand the shortcomings in the public services, in the shortcomings in the way government operates, and begin to clearly articulate and put those processes in place. And one thing is clear. The next 4 years is going to be about technology, digitalization. And if we're going to do that, we are not going to import these people who will do it for us from Mars, from outside of Edo State. We have to create a digital state. We have to create a digital space. We have to create a digital economy. And digital citizens. So you're going to be seeing us launch what we call e-government, different platforms. Today, we already have, we're already using technology in different bits. In government, we have an enterprise system, Oracle, for our financial services. We may decide to extend that to, for human resources, for HR. We've called in groups. We're looking at facility management. This facility, for instance, is new. If we don't change the culture, in a year's time, you will not be able to use this, but it will have been trashed. So we need to have people who, agencies, people who can monitor, ensure it is maintained and upgraded. We've, like I said, government has been using technology. It's not new. We have GIS, we have Adobe, we have systems in IRS, we have payroll, we have pension. We're using technology in different forms, but it's not integrated. That has to happen, particularly security. We're building a command and control center, and so with which we want to engage citizens, when they feel unsafe. All of these various elements, all of these platforms need to be organized. They need to be integrated so that they can talk to each other and be able to deliver services to our people. I have said it, that I will be the last governor in Edo State to work with paper. If billions of naira are approved, credits are approved by bank managing directors in this country on their phones, why can't we run government with technology? And so to make it happen, we're talking scale. It's not about one or two people or 100 people from innovation center. No, we're talking about our capacity to produce thousands. Thousands of young men and women who understand technology, who live it. And you can't do that without creating the ecosystem for them. You can't do that without creating the opportunities. You can't do it without creating the physical space. So the Edo Park project is essentially for us to use the advantages we have created over the last 4 years to train and host in Edo State a minimum of 15,000 people in the next 4 years who will be software developers. And the opportunities will be open to all graduates from universities, polytechnics, wherever, people who've gone through, who have the capacity to understand how to work the technology work. We are going to be leveraging this. We are very confident about achieving this because we have two critical success factors. If we can find the people, we already have the digital infrastructure, we have the fiber optic connections, and we're building more, and we already have electricity because we're generating more than most people in the country here. With electricity and fiber connections, as long as we can screen and find the human beings, train them, give them the opportunities, they will thrive, they will do well. That is the long and short of what the digital park or tech park is all about. We will start today by doing the things we need to do, sign out of the agreements we need to sign up. We have space for them to start working from tomorrow. And we already have thought it through that, we're going to run out of the space in a few months' time, and we have what we call an intermediate space at Benin Technical College, where we are going to use about 20 hectares there. And we realized quickly that may fill up and fill out in another 18 to 24 months. And by the time that's filling out, We have 2 cities, 2 digital cities we already have planning. And so our proposition is going to be based on the fact that we're going to push to get talent. We're going to continue to invest in superior infrastructure. We'll create a legal environment to protect intellectual property and our knowledge capital. We're going to ensure that the innovation which we create enhances business networks across not only Nigeria, globally. We're going to throw in all the incentives that we can as a state, and we'll push for the ones we don't have control over as a state to ensure that we get those incentives, tax and fiscal incentives. And we will integrate it into the bigger plan of ensuring operational and digital and efficient logistics operations within Edo State as an economy. And what's all of this going to do? We are committed that by 2025, Edo State will develop and grow a digital economy and evolve a digital government. Because we need a digital government to run a digital government for a digital age we live in. We need to run a digital government because we need to deliver better services for our people. They have told us. That's why we are here. That's why we're in power. We need to make sure that we have a digital government so that just to make life easier for our people. And we want to make sure and ensure that never again, as a government, would we make decisions. Will we develop policies that's not based on evidence and data. Because the world today is so connected that we have no choice. That if you want to interact with the world, that's one thing the world demands from you: data. Because without it, there will be no basis for communication. On that note, I want to welcome and thank all of you for coming, and encourage and welcome you to be part of Digital Edo. Thank you.
I'm sure we all agree with Mr. Governor's vision. We're making history today, and sometimes feels normal, but just remember today. Remember today. I wonder how many of you believe that in 5 years' time, there will be 15,000 people living here in Edo State, working for writing software for Edo, for Lagos, for London, for America, maybe even for India. I don't know how many people believe that. I believe because of a story which I want to share with you. About 22 years ago, nobody in Nigeria, hardly anybody in Nigeria had access to the internet. Very few. You'd have to go to a cyber cafe and spend hours. And then there was a group of young people led by a 22-year-old, I guess you call that a boy, a Nigerian boy, who brought together another 5 fresh graduates from universities, different universities, and they worked together to write software and went to MTN and said to MTN, it's possible to access internet, email on a mobile phone. Before then, nobody had ever accessed email on a mobile phone or internet on a mobile phone in Nigeria. They worked together, they had a chance, and they did it. It took them about a year, they got it done. Today, all of you here access the internet on your mobile phones. There are more than 72 million people every day accessing the internet on their mobile. Can you imagine what your life would be like without access to the internet on the mobile phone? That's the power. That's unusual things, history happening. With all due humility, I want to tell you that that 22-year-old boy that led that big step is in front of you today. I am that boy. And the reason why I tell that story, of course, it's nice to receive a clap, right? But the reason why I tell that story is just to help you understand a couple of things. One is just, of course, what is possible, but also what is possible when you bring young people and connect them to technology and to the internet. Please go to the first slide. So, young people in India, about 3.9 million young people in India, every year are working in India writing software for outside India, for countries all over the world, including Nigeria. They are generating $120 billion every year of dollars into India. That's about 5 times the money that Nigeria makes from oil, and that all of us is supposed to take care of all of us. In spite of that, it's not just India, there's Bulgaria, Poland, many other countries. In spite of that, America and countries like Europe, America specifically, still has a shortfall of 1 million jobs this year in tech, meaning they need an additional 1 million software developers to write software for them. Go to the next slide. Nigeria is well placed, has unique advantages to meet the global opportunity for software development. We have young people, 70 million or so young people. Of course, half of them are unemployed. We have high internet penetration. We speak English. We're on the same time zone as Europe and America. But it's not happening. Next slide. Next slide. It hasn't been happening. Why? Because the brilliant youth of Nigeria face some major obstacles to becoming developers, to accessing this opportunity. Number one is that they don't have money, so they don't have access to laptops. But even if they had money, they don't have access to reliable power and internet. Across the country, it's not there. They don't have access to a guided learning path. Like, yes, you might have access to the internet, but how do you know what to learn? And how do you know the specific skills that are important? Then they don't have access to the actual jobs, right? So you can learn, but how do you actually get the job? And then finally, unfortunately, the country Nigeria doesn't have the best reputation. When people in America think of a young Nigerian with laptop and internet, what they're thinking about is not so nice, right? So the reputation has not been there historically that would allow, even if a young person is able to do somehow, get power, laptop, internet, get the mentorship and the training, and then now see jobs and apply for the job. When they see that he's 20, that she's 20 or he's 20 and from Nigeria, they'll be afraid of 419. And so that brand has been missing. Next slide. I started Decagon 2 years ago in order to address those problems. And what we basically do is we run what we call a merit-based program where we accept only the best. And if you're able to make it in, you receive 6 months of intensive training. We accommodate you, so you live on site. We give you feeding, laptop, everything that you need. So all you have to do is just learn. We train you on leadership, communication, and so on and so forth. And after those 6 months, we connect you to jobs. Companies like InterSwitch, GT, Access, SimFix. I mean, most of the top 100 companies in Nigeria are hiring what we call them Deca devs. Next slide. Next slide. We set up a work-live facility in Lagos. which I've talked about, where we house everybody and so on and so forth. Next slide. And then I talked about majority of them going out to work for local companies, but we retain some of them as our engineers. And those ones now work with us for companies internationally. And this is just some feedback from some of the companies. You know, one of the CEOs, the guy on top, David, says Victor was able to contribute code on a client's project in his first week. So he's a very fast learner. That project that he was working on was for a Fortune 100 company. That's one of the top 100 most valuable companies in the world. And he was building their global website. He had 7 months before that, he had never written any code. Another guy in Amsterdam says, these guys are really well trained. They are hungry to grow. Ruke was a great addition to our team. So we currently serve companies in Austin, New York, Berlin, London, and Rome from our bases in Lagos, Austin, and Berlin. Today, we are not just adding Edo, but we are choosing Edo as what will be our main base for Decagon moving forward. Since we started in 2018, we've gone through around the country. We've had more than 70,000 applicants to get into Decagon. Our acceptance rate is less than 0.5%, so it's very, very rigorous. We've accepted 250 so far, and all the 250, we have a 100% placement rate that when they finish, they get a job. Majority of them, so 70% of them had been unemployed, in spite of the fact that they are top 0.5%. 70% of them had been unemployed for 2 years on average. The remaining 30% that had been employed, their average salary was 30,000 naira. When they come in, they start receiving a stipend of 30,000 naira from us. And when they finish, after 7 months, the average salary is 250,000 naira when they graduate from Decagon so far. Next slide. So now we want to scale to 15,000 in 5 years. But why have we chosen Edo? You know, just 2 simple reasons. Number one is that we found in Governor Obaseki and the leadership of Edo State a vision that was complementary to ours. You know, on the previous slide, I didn't. What is that vision? We believe that within a decade, that's why the company is called Decagon, within a decade, we can make Nigeria a top 10 software engineering nation. What that means is that 0.6%, 0.3% of the Nigerian population, where did I get that? India is 0.3%, Poland 0.3%, Bulgaria, all the top countries that are making a lot of money from their young people working as software engineers have about 0.3% of their population working as software engineers. So we said, okay, if Nigeria did that, that would be 600,000 people. And based on the average money that comes per person, that will be just about $20 billion, effectively in a decade, replacing what we currently earn from oil. That is the Decagon mission. And when we listened to Governor Obaseki before we met him, when we listened to him independently, the language, the vision, the words he used, we just connected and we thought, okay, this is the type of collaboration, because we cannot do it by ourselves. But this is the kind of collaboration, the kind of environment that would enable us to achieve what we're trying to achieve. That's number one. Number two, performance. You know, when Governor Obaseki was speaking, he used the word performance, and I was like, did he see my slides? We found that Edo is already doing what we are trying to achieve. Without us marketing to Edo indigenes, when we look at our data, we find that Edo State are currently number 2 in being able to make it into Decagon out of the 36 states. You know, we're merit-based, there's no Pasha, but I have to confess that the number 1, which is Anambra, got there through Pasha, because I'm from Anambra. It's not that we allowed them in, but we were running marketing, we were telling them about the opportunity, we were shouting about the opportunity. So they applied. it's the only region that ever got focused marketing. So Edo by themselves found out somehow and have come in, and they're already doing so well. So that was number one. Number two, Edo State government has already done so much in infrastructure. When I understood that you already had fiber here, because I know why I'm saying that, because we know the effort that we're putting in, even in Lagos and in other parts, to first convince people of just this opportunity and its ability to transform the outcome of this nation in one generation. But it was already happening here. And then also, Edo Jobs was already here. When we came and we visited and we went to the Innovation Center and we saw what people were doing, we knew that the spirit of what we're trying to do is already here. Congratulations to Uki, congratulations to the governor and the entire team that has been doing this. And then when we heard about the EduGov project and the bold mission to transform the governance of the state, we thought this is important, because when people graduate, when we train people and they graduate, yes, we can hire some people. Yes, other companies, they can do work for other people. But it's good for there to be demand locally. And this vision that the governor has will create demand for software engineers locally. And it's not just, that's not the only reason. The other reason is that effectively software and digital is, people say digital disruption, but another way to think about it is human capacity acceleration. Software is accelerating what human beings can do, is multiplying it. And when we only build software for the international market, then we are expanding the gap more. So we're very pleased to have the ability to use what we're training people to do to accelerate the local human output and capacity. And so for us, that was just, this was like really big. Next slide. So what is the EduTech Park? It's a live, work, play location. Effectively, we will have accommodation, we'll have offices, we'll have recreation, where people can just do their learning, get their job, do their job, and really build out effectively a new city. We're literally going to transform this city, not us, but the people who we train. And in 10 years' time, it will be completely different. Next slide. So what specifically is this going to, tangibly, what is it going to bring? It is going to bring the tech park itself is going to bring 120,000 jobs. 15,000 people. There's a World Bank multiplier 8.1 for the additional jobs that are created when you create tech jobs, for the additional people that will be supporting them in that space, construction, so many different things. So it's going to bring 120,000 jobs, which will contribute to the growth of the internally generated revenue in the state, so that the state can continue to do other things for other sectors of the state, and which will, by creating those jobs, will help improve the security, because you have less crime when people are busy working. And then it will expand the capacity. I've talked about EduGov, but the other thing that it will do, I said tech startups economy like Tel Aviv. The point there is that I use Tel Aviv, not Silicon Valley. And the reason is this. Tel Aviv is the second most successful ecosystem in the world, meaning that they create the most value, they create the most billions of dollars every year from people building software and selling the software companies. But they are a very small market, so they do not build for their own market, because their market cannot absorb it. So they build internationally. What that means is that people here in Edo can build software for across the world, modeling itself after an ecosystem like Tel Aviv, and we start to see tens, hundreds of young men and women become millionaires, just like the two young men last month, the founders of Paystack, who started a company, and within 5 years, they had sold it for $200 million. Next slide. And so the EduTech Park, I'll just go through it because there's a video. Next slide. So this is the high the overlay of the whole site. Next slide. So there are different sections. The blue section is the core section where you have majority of the offices. The yellow section is where you have the residentials. The pink is where you have the infrastructure, so that's the power and sewage and other types of infrastructure. And the red is where you have like the mixed use of entertainment, shops, and so on. Next. Because of time, because of time, you can just go through and then you can just play the video. Thank you very much.
On behalf of Computer Engineering Student Association, UniBrain, I want to say a very big thank you to the State Governor in person of His Excellency Mr. Godwin Obaseki for this opportunity he has given to the students and also to the youth at large, which we believe, according to what we have seen, will help empower us in developing ourselves and also stand out globally in other competitions. Thank you very much, Mr. Governor, and God bless those states.
Mr. Godwin Obaseki, the governor of the state, for the wonderful initiative he has been bringing to Edo State so far, because checking the Edo Innovative Hub, UniBank computer science students have been a good number of beneficiaries in data science programs and technological programs he has brought to this state. And we want to thank you more because a governor that focuses on the youth is a governor that wants an accelerated development in the state. Thank you very much, Mr. Governor. And we welcome Decagon, and we would like to work with Decagon because computer science students in the University of Benin, we have a refined culture. We think computer science. Thank you very much, sir.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Barrett Obey, and I'm a current beneficiary of the AWS Free Start program on cloud computing. And I would like to thank His Excellency, sir, the Governor of Edo State, Governor Obaseki, for all the wonderful innovations he has brought to the state. Before I enrolled for this program, I was a complete novice in the tech world. And right now we are 10 weeks into the program. I've learned so much in tech, in networking, programming, and cloud computing. Enough to know that I want to pursue a career in software engineering and software designing. And we've learned all this for free. So I'm very grateful, sir, for the opportunity. I would like to encourage all of us to join the governor and support all his good innovations. And I'm also very excited about the Edo Tech Park. I've already registered to be part of the 15,000, and I'm really looking forward to that. So thank you very much, sir, and thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Obey. Project sounds very ambitious, and from your earlier address, it ties into the other projects like the Edo Innovates. I wonder what the broad plan is for absorbing these talents in Edo State itself. Right now, we've said that the talents will plug into jobs around the world, but I wonder how will Edo State agriculture, health, and education sectors absorb these talents? Thank you.
Very much. Like Chika said, the MD of Decagon said in his presentation, the very fact that we have talent, people who can develop products, software, at a global level in our backyard, in our midst, means that if we create the demand locally, we will have access to very high quality, global standard type developments. Take, for instance, healthcare. Today, we have a software that we have deployed to all our primary healthcare centers as we roll them out, such that when you go into that center, your identity is taken, your vitals are taken, your medical history is taken, right? And your course of treatment is recorded. All that data comes into a portal such that if you have to be referred to the specialist hospital, before you get there, the doctor already has the information as to your condition. We would like to, today it's costing us so much, right? And so every time you want to upgrade, every time you want to think out of the box, you can imagine the going back in and forth that we do on. If we had people just local who are thinking, who understand, they could help very quickly accelerate and improve that, technology. The partners we have for Edobest, for instance, they're American-based. A lot of the development work is done in Kenya. And I don't want to be tied to that sort of arrangement for life. There's really no reason why I should not have the kind of quality of expertise that will give me, Edobest 2.0, 2.3 going forward. If I have that, and all the licensing fees and all the things we pay that goes outside can be earned locally. Detour agriculture, I can go on and on and on. Security, identity, everything we do today, we have to pay software licenses to people abroad because these people have to pay people like you who we're developing today to create these systems. So in another 5 years, they will be the ones earning those software, the cost for those software licenses, not paying to the outside world. Because we will have demand. We're already creating that demand. By the time we launch the EduGov platform, then you will now see how citizens can interact with government seamlessly. All that work I want to be done locally. I don't want to call somebody in India to do that work for me.
Into the system. So I would like to know, sir, what are your parameters through which you select people who will be part of the training? You understand? So that's my question, sir. Thank you very much.
Acceptance rate of 0.5% is not intentional. We would like it to not be so steep. Even that's much better. Like Harvard and Stanford and all these schools don't have like more than 2% or 3% acceptance. I think a big part of why the acceptance rate is so low, part of it has to do with people not really knowing or believing or trusting. Most reason why people fail out is that they don't complete it or that they cheat. They cheat because they think they just don't believe that if they just keep going at it, that they will make it through. Really, most people, like Nigerian university is not easy. JAMB is hard. So most people that can, for example, graduate with mathematics, a 2-1 and above, or physics, or we have people who studied marketing. A boy who studied religious studies and philosophy, who was able to make it in. He hadn't done programming before. So our process involves us, is training actually. Our selection is training. So we give you materials to learn about the basics of software development, the basics, and then we test you. So we want to see how fast you can learn, because the program itself is very rigorous. So the main thing is a test of your ability to learn fast. There are some other things that we do. We give you some mathematics for computer science. We teach you, and then we test you on it, and then we interview you. And there's some other things that we check around your integrity. So if you've had issues, some criminal record or something like that, you can't get in because we lend you money to attend, and then we are trusting that you will pay when you finish. You'll get a job and you're free. So integrity and some things to do with leadership. But the fundamentals are speed of learning, how fast you learn. And we provide information and then we test you.
My name is Chinedu Ekeja from KUFM, been in here. I just have like 2 questions for you and one for Decagon. This is quite beautiful, like from what we're seeing on the virtual displacement here. But I was wondering, if there will be an external funding arrangement, I want you to tell us the funding plan you have for this project, and if the training will commence as soon as this, the park is ready, or there is a temporal place where the training will be ongoing, pending when the park will be completed. Then secondly, we understand the political situation in Nigeria, that offices are tenured, and you have just 4 years to complete your tenure, and you can't tell exactly the disposition of the next governor. Do you have a plan of sustaining this project beyond the time you leave office? Then for Decagon, you talked about placement, that is 100% after the program. Isn't it restrictive? What about people that do have plans for entrepreneurs who want to do standalone? Do you have plans for funding? Because many of them will not have access to venture capitals and financial institutions. What plans for them? What plans do you have for them? For those that want to do a standalone, they want to be entrepreneurs. They don't want to work for anyone. They just want to stand alone. Thank you.
I think your question, can you hear me? Yes. So you talked about timing, first funding. How are we going to get money to do this? Timing for the park. How do we intend to sequence the development? And then can all of this be finished before we leave this, before our term run out? First, my background is, as you know, investment banking. I know how to raise money. Money is the easiest if people can see how money can be made from what you're doing. There's already a lot of money going towards technology globally. 20 years ago, if you look at what you call the board, the main companies listed on the New York Stock Exchange board, the top 18 or so of them were all resource-based companies. ExxonMobil, Chevron, AT&T, AT&T, and all of those companies. 20 years after, the top 18 companies are all IT-based. Apple, Google, and people like that. That means that technology is able to attract a lot of capital locally and globally. And it's some industry people know. So if the right business case is made and people see it, it's so transparent. The bankers, the people who will put money into, will find this project very attractive. We've not raising money for viable projects like this have never been an issue. Timing. For us, it is not a government project. It's a government-propelled project. That's why we have a partner. Our philosophy as a government is to create the enabling environment for things to happen. It's to partner with people who know how to make things happen. That's our operating philosophy. So what have we done? And you won't believe it. The interaction with Decagon is not up to 90 days. It's not. In fact, the decision to launch this park was taken less than 4 weeks ago. We invited them for the inauguration because we had been thinking about it. And after, got them to stay around the town to see what we have done. And after the inauguration, we went after them to try and encourage and, sell the idea to them. I'm sure even when they came in yesterday or a couple of days ago, about a week ago, Uki didn't know the extent to which we had engaged. So the point is, it's going to be sequenced. So they are here, we've launched, the application portal is going to be open tonight. They have a time frame. I don't know if it opens and closes or it's continuous. They will admit the first group, hopefully before January, the middle of January. We have as part of the center we built, which we're going to use for ICT, that's open. We will give them that facility temporarily and look for accommodation so that they can start now. By the time that set is completing and finishing its work in 6 months, we would have launched EduGov. We would have been collaborating with them. They are already doing what they're doing. This is not their first project. They've been doing things like this across, the world. So they have offtake. We will just proceed very quickly. We have actually defined the space from the Benin Technical College premises. We are making about 20 hectares available for this campus, for the park, to start off. So we will start here. It's going to fill out very quickly, and hopefully by then, that's why we have, people like the Edo State EDPA, Property and Housing Development Authority. They have people talking to them every day. We should be able to commence the construction of the park itself close to the education hub around Ugbowo. The power arrangement for that is already been concluded. We expect to be able to bring in quite a bit of power from another generating company into that location for use there and in that environment. There's already fiber there. We already started doing some work in parts of the technical school. So we can get life into that environment within a 12, 18 month time frame. The way we've seen this sort of things happen all over the world, in another 24 months, even that space will not be adequate. So we are currently talking to we have 2 other locations that are much bigger. One is about 100 hectares, another is about 75 hectares. 2 other possible locations where this can grow into in the next 24 months and beyond. Can it be finished in 1 term? Nothing gets finished in 1 term. Important thing is to get it started, get it to thrive, get other stakeholders to be involved, and they will sustain it going forward. So if you have 5, 10,000, 10,000 people already working, bringing money in, there's work, the state is collecting its tax revenues, jobs are being created. Well, I wish anybody who stops it, good luck.
This is big. I talked about the Tel Aviv, Benin as the Tel Aviv, and that's entrepreneurship, right? But ultimately we have to sequence things. When we started this whole, you talked about finance, when we started this whole thing, I knew that it needed to be that people, it cannot be that your ability to pay for it will determine whether you come or not. So we went with a model that had student loan financing as part of the model. What that means is that's why I say it's merit-based. We got that idea from Harvard Business School. Anybody, it doesn't matter who your father is, if you get into Harvard Business School, Citibank of America will give you a loan to cover your fees. Why? Because they know that when you finish, you will be able to get a job and pay back, right? So that's the model. However, because the people will have a loan, it makes sense for them to get a job and work and pay off the loan. It would take them, on the average salary of 250K, if they pay 100K a month, in 3 years they would have finished paying off their loan. Some people who started a year ago with us are earning right now 1,900,000, the highest is 900K, within 7 months of graduating from us. So some people can pay it off earlier. And even some people can, so I hope you get the point that it's structured in a way that they have loans to pay, so they need to get a job. In any case, getting a job will involve them improving their technical capability. That's number one. But also understanding business, understanding how companies solve problems, which will then empower them, give them the tools that they will need to start their own company. I assure you, that's where we're going. Before I
started Decagon, I spent a decade. I was probably one of the most prolific investors in startups. I invested in the Jobberman 3 founders when they were in university in Ife as students. And we grew that company and we sold the company. So that's where we are going. But to get there, you have to build on a foundation. I found that the Nigerian tech ecosystem didn't have the foundation of software engineering talent. So people are building companies, but they are sending money to India and Poland to do the work. So let's create the foundation of software engineering talent, a surplus of talent. That's what Silicon Valley has. That's what Tel Aviv has. On that foundation of surplus of talent, you now add entrepreneurship, and it will be very difficult to compete with.
Governor Obaseki, and also for Decagon. So I am super excited about this. I am super excited. I'm a computer science student, University of Benin. So the first question is, this is going to be orchestrated here in Benin. Does it mean it's for just indigenes of Benin City? And also, I before now already understood how Decagon works, and I have been following through. I know it is for just graduates, but a whole lot of us want to also go into this. If it is for just graduates, should we take a step back and wait till we graduate? Or there is also a sort of plan for the university students? Then also, I also want to ask how Edo Innovate feeds into the tech park too.
People will answer. First, is it for Edo indigenes? Are you an Edo indigene? No. From your name, you are not. Are you enjoying opportunities in Edo State? Do you feel a sense of discrimination against you? So that's it. That's Edo. As long as you're an African, you are a resident here, you are contributing to the growth of Edo, then you can participate and take advantage. Uki, talk about how it affected Edo Innovates.
How this impacts Edo Innovates is actually a growth opportunity for Edo Innovates, because if you think about it, Decagon plans to train 15,000 people, and they're only going to select the best of the best. So that means Edo Innovates has more work to do to train more and more of you young people with the entry skills, introduce you into that sector. I remember when Edo Innovates opened first, ICT was very strange when we talk to young people. But now, we do any opening for any tech skills training in the Innovation Hub, and we get thousands of applications. That's because people are getting the exposure. But when you get that exposure, you want to get to the next level. You want to become an expert. You want to have access to jobs. So that is where Decagon comes to play. Actually, while the tech park is being set up, Edo Innovate is also going to be expanding to other senatorial districts, just to make sure that the funnel can be wide enough. We can always keep turning more and more people into the program that Decagon will be running. So for us, we're very excited. We're partnering with them, and it's a big, big plus for Edo Innovate. Thank you.
It's all about sequence. What do I mean by that? There are lots of people who have graduated from university who are unemployed. I told you that 70% of the people that have made it into Decagon are unemployed. So we'll start with them, because for a university student, they still, typically, generally speaking, still have to finish university. And in any case, in us creating the financing, so what we did to get the student loan financing, we partnered with the CBN, we pitched to the CBN, and in partnership with two banks, with Access Bank and Sterling Bank, we created the first software engineering student loans, really, in the history of Nigeria. And they lend money to people without any collateral. But they said, well, they don't have any collateral, so the only thing that we can hold is their university degree. So they collect their university degree, they collect their NYC certificate. So that creates that entry, that barrier, right? Which for us, we're getting so many applicants that already fit that is not an immediate problem for us, right? But we're also, like I said, it's a sequence. So when we started, they may not have understood this whole thing, but now that we have produced 250 people and they've all gotten jobs, they know that it's not about the degree, it's not about anything, that everybody's paying. So based on that, we believe we can have a little bit more flexibility to create a bit more flexibility in the financing packages so that other people can participate. That's number one. Number two, by us being here, our main flagship program might still be have a higher standard, but just by us being here, there will be many other versions, many other interventions, many other opportunities. Just even the fact that the number of people that we will have here that are working for global companies, that you people, we'll be next to Uniben, right? So people from Uniben will be interacting with those people. They will be able to do maybe internships. There will be a lot of opportunity. So I think that nobody's going to be left out over time. We're going to accelerate rapidly. But one thing about startups, right, globally, if you think about even Facebook, right, Mark Zuckerberg, when he started it, it was only for Harvard University students. After that, only for Ivy League students. Now it's for everybody in the world. So there's a power of sequencing. There's a big vision, but you have to still take it one step at a time so that you can succeed, then you scale up, then you scale up, then you scale up. So that's what we're going to do.
He talked about financing and funding and the availability of a fund. One of the possibilities and one of the things we're discussing with Decagon is that we will jointly launch a fund. We're looking at initially we're looking at about a $20 million fund, which we feel will be successful. It will be more like a social fund. It will be sold particular to the Edo diaspora, who send money back. And that fund will be available to provide loans because it's going to be paid back to the scheme. So once we're able to get through, like you said, with sequence, once we're able to get through the first phase and we are comfortable, we will be working actively to make sure that we also provide a pool of money to support the young people who will go through the program.
Of the Nigeria Television Authority, NTA Benin Network Center. My question goes to Decagon. Sir, can you tell us one of the softwares launched by Decagon that is Google Play Store or iOS, and of course, is download count?
Okay, so to just end this section on questions from the press, what we are doing today, like we say, it's commonly said that the journey of 1,000 miles starts with that first step. Or like Armstrong said, that one step on the moon was a giant step for humanity. So for us today, we're making that first step, taking that first step in Edo to launch Edo in a serious manner into the digital age. Because this is what we promised, and this we will do. So the message is, let the young people of Edo who live here understand that the opportunity is now open. And I think before we leave, the press announcement will go out, and I think the application portal, when is it opening? The application portal will open immediately after this session, and it will be broadcast very, very widely. So on that note, I want to thank you. I believe somebody wants to thank us formally for coming.
Okay, with that response, may I now have the permission to invite PS Minister of Wealth.
In here would have been a job for the national. But you can imagine it's national government. that is taking the initiative to look into the future and create the kind of value that will stimulate development and change the narrative from where we are now to where we be future. Mr. I want to thank you for providing the model that is attracting partnership, a model that is promoting the digital economy and development. We want to thank you for being a leading light, not just to Edo State, but to other subnational governments, so that we can all go along to create
Our greatness is second to none. Our kings have endured all times. Our people cultured in unity. Our hearts beat for the land. Rich culture, stories of heroes, legacies forever be. Beautiful and glorious. Edo, you're the heartbeat of Nigeria. Beautiful Edo, glorious Edo. Stars are singing over you. You're the land people dream to be. Unite and stand with each other. Forgive and let it go. Together we can stand.
Hey there. Subscribe to my channel. And also press this bell icon.